The trip into China was a success, if I could put from our front. And we went there with our national interest agenda. And myself and Governor H.E just returned on the flight this morning, feeling absolutely flabbergasted that we were able to reach at the highest, as well as at the levels where we expect to secure delivery of outcomes for our country. It was an overwhelming success in my view, and I just want to say thank you to the team who worked to ensure that the trip was staged and for us to travel safely into the 4 or 5 key meetings we had in Republic of China. I want to also, from our front, really appreciate the local Chinese ambassador, Ambassador Jan Fanua, who knew exactly what Papua New Guinea want in as far as our relationship with China is concerned. And I think Beijing was adequately briefed. I've never known a time in a nation's history where our country was accorded the privilege to have bilateral, both with the top 2 leaders in China, President Xi Jinping and Premier H.E. We went into China knowing very well that in that occasion we also were sharing Beijing with leaders from over 150 countries globally who are attending the Road and Belt Forum. Road and Belt Forum initiative this year, the 10th anniversary of Road and Belt initiative by President Xi Jinping, who initiated that in 2013. That initiative is to really link up with enabling infrastructures based on ancient Chinese trade routes back into Europe and down into Asia also. President Xi Jinping initiated this in 2013. Today it has a global reach of over 150 nations. And PNG was the first Pacific nation to affiliate to the Road and Belt Initiative. It was in 2018 when we signed on, when President Xi Jinping visited Port Moresby for a state visit hosted by then Prime Minister Hon. And so our travel there at his invitation was not wasted. We did not just go there making up the numbers like others were making up, attending a forum of over 150 nations. We were expressly picked to have bilaterals with the leadership. And both bilaterals with President Xi Jinping and Premier H.E went on very, very well. All conversations on the table was made consistent with PNG's focus in as far as our relationship with China is concerned. There was hardly, if not no mention on security aspect and political aspect of relationship. China came down to us at our level, at nation-to-nation conversations. They clearly understood our focus on commerce and trade. And that conversation became the biggest winner for us. President Xi Jinping indicated to us that 3 or 4 companies from China will be directed to expressly participate in fisheries, forestry, agriculture, and other downstream processing our country seeks to move upon. And he affirmed to us that China remains a market for all of PNG producers. And that's just something I just want to reflect back as I arrive back home through this media transmission of our heartfelt appreciation back to President and Premier of China and the people of China for their wonderful hospitality, but more importantly, their support to our country's focus to make an economic leap, to not just being a producer and exporter of raw producers, but more importantly, in our own country's focus to create employment, value add on our resources, and our conversation to move into downstream. China has picked that conversation up in a big way. I've been on the road to other nations also, similarly, not just relating at head of government to head of government level when I relate with other nations, but conversation has always been anchored on business, trade, and free flow of commerce and trade, and especially our focus on bringing investors in the downstream processing sector. I just want to announce to our country and report to the country that that level of commitment on downstream has never been given to me in all my other visits. I make no reservation in stating this. That in the other visits that I've made, without naming names of the countries that I've visited, the country knows very well my visit to all big countries in the last year or two. China, as I came back from China, 100% direct commitment for partnering us in the downstream sector, downstream processing sector, especially in the fisheries, forestry, and the agricultural sector was given. Immediately for the agricultural sector, there's a biosecurity clearance for our coffee and our cacao producers, ASAP. Anyone who wants to sell coffee now and cacao to any trader in China, the biosecurity requirements of selling coffee and cocoa has been uplifted. We work on all the other producers and so for me this is the biggest winner. If someone asks me what is the big win out of this visit in China, well, China's leadership's appreciation of the fact that we want to now move into the downstream processing space in our resource sector. They came out clear in that space. I would also indicate a couple of other achievements. We presented our letter of ascension to the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. That is a major facility set up, led by China as the biggest contributor, but by nations who are subscribers to this bank. It's an international lending institution, soft lending to especially targeted infrastructures, something similar to ADB, and of course, we know World Bank and IMF exist in that space. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank is a major bank. We have, as a nation, thought of becoming a member. We have not, since the offer was on the table for 4 to 5 years. We went, Cabinet has approved our ascension into AIIB. We went, and again, President Xi Jinping was happy that we have affiliated to this bank. And in one of the meetings we had, we went into the bank, actually meeting them and conferred a letter of ascension to the bank. And so, opening up of Chinese lending facilities to us, again, we did indicate that our nation is on a fiscal consolidation pathway going forward. Infrastructure remains a major focus for us to develop, especially key enabling infrastructures to carry the economy, and therefore open up to a facility in a big way set up by the Republic of China to assist nations who are within reach or who sought out help. And this will be, again, if we were to go out that path, focus on concessional lending, similar to concessional lenders that we currently work with, like IMF, World Bank, and ADB. The AIIB has now become one of our lenders that we have offered our letter of ascension. I want to also indicate that at the meeting also, President Xi Jinping, they directed for one or two major Chinese companies, especially, sorry, I beg your pardon, major bank, Bank of China to open up its office in PNG to give compliment to the many of the exchanges we have. And in that meeting, PNG did indicate that we will use Chinese renminbi as a currency of trade and Kina renminbi direct exchange between traders who are doing business, PNG and China, instead of using US dollar. That direct exchange between Kina and renminbi was looked at. And Bank of China will come into PNG and operate. They already have a branch here, but the President directed that they set up a fully functional bank that is able to assist those who trade with PNG and China. In case some of you may wonder, our trade volume with China has gone past 13 billion and it's in the surplus in favor of PNG. So it's not just a small nation that we're dealing with a major trading partner. our second biggest export market, and also our second biggest import market. And we now export more to them than what we import from China. So those complementary measures were looked at to complement trade, ease of trade and business between PNG and China in the midst of sometimes dollar scarcity in our country, as well as instead of going through a second phase trade with China, which is direct PNG China PNG currency and Chinese currency exchange that is being looked at as I speak. The Chinese leadership also indicate there are a couple of projects they assisted us, and we did thank them for the completion of Western Pacific University and offered our support to that university. They also indicate their continued support to Butuka and other educational programs. They passed on a 50 million kina grant, and we did indicate that those will assist in all our secondary schools, targeting TVET and TVET sector in our secondary schools, preparing Papua New Guineans, young Papua New Guineans to go through our high school, complementing our government policy that kids in high school must also have additional skills as they finish grade 12. And so that 50 million kina grant that was given to us, we've indicated support to high schools to complement our own government's policy interest to focus on really upskilling high schools as a point of contact on young Papua New Guineans to equip them for life beyond grade 12, and hopefully link them into agriculture, trade, fisheries, forestry that our government has been focused on. I want to also indicate that we had a very major, successful Asia PNG investment conference in Hong Kong. When I arrived into Hong Kong last Sunday, Monday I opened the conference. It was well attended, contrary to many social media spins that it went very well or it wasn't too good. I just want to say it was an excellent conference. I want to commend Mr. Smara and the team from PNG Mines and Petroleum. Whilst predominantly mining and petroleum sort of focus, but it had an outreach to all other sectors of business PNG has, especially again in something close to our government's heart, focus to migrate big time into agriculture, fisheries, forestry. That conversation came out very big. It was an overall success. We met again, I think for the first time, the Chief Executive Officer of Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. He was out there welcome us, and we had a major investment conference before we stepped into Beijing. Last night I flew out of Shenzhen. Shenzhen is a city that 10 years ago was like Port Moresby was at 1975. And they leapfrogged from outback settlement on the banks of a river into being one of the biggest cities of the world, which per capita and in GDP is also bigger than many global nations. Shenzhen, the city of Shenzhen hosted us well, but earlier in the day we concluded a very nice meeting with the governor of Guangdong province. I want to announce that we're working hard, consistent with our bilateral exchange. There possibly will be a direct flight from Guangdong starting December 20 this year, PNG China mainland direct flight. This will give complement to our efforts to import tourists. China exports over 100 million tourists every year to the world. We have not been tapping into this market. There are tourists who want to visit PNG as well as Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, Fiji, and the Pacific Islands. We want to route them through Port Moresby and take some here, but funnel those who want to go onto the Pacific through this route. First flight, if all goes well, if all is ticked off, then 20th of December this year we'll have the first direct flights. Southern China Airline has been picked as the airline to service this route. We went in had a meet with the Minister for Civil Aviation, signed an understanding with them, and Governor of Guangdong gave his cover in these arrangements. Guangdong is the partner sister province to NCD. NCD governor was there, and a deeper collaboration between Guangdong and NCD and PNG was established. So we may wonder why Guangdong conversation in Guangdong. Guangdong economy, by the way, if you do your research, it's bigger than the country Russia, just to contextualize. Guangdong as a province has a bigger economy than Russia. And so we're not talking Mickey Mouse conversations here. Even at the provincial level, they're super giant in as far as their ability to send out investors and their ability to also buy produces from us. So having had a successful bilateral conversation with both the President and the Premier, we were given separate occasions, Monday afternoon with the Premier and Tuesday with the President. So back-to-back 2 meetings with the 2 top leaders. But that conversation would hang in space if we don't have an anchor on which we translate our focus on business and trade. And so we took anchorage in Guangdong province. Guangdong province is the biggest economic province in China. They will offer us the link to Chinese investors, Chinese market, and of course sourcing Chinese tourists from that place into us, complementing Air Guinea's regular runoff from Hong Kong that has been going on for some time now. So all in all, a good meeting with the leadership. They commented PNG's role in the region. China, we were transparent. They knew where we come from. We said let's stick with China on the space of investment and trade. The meeting on the table was warm and cordial. They appreciated our honesty, sincerity, and we don't play nations against nations. We relate to each nation in their own path, in their own envelope. And our transparency in how we relate with nations, globally speaking, as most of you know, if not all of you, the PNG is in a unique position. We relate to major nations who are major economies on one-on-one. And in the last 3 years, I have been activating those relationships so that below this relationship, we're able to find market for our producers. And it's now, the greater work now rests with us. And as far as market is concerned, market is available in all nations that we relate to, but more so as companies I just sent and come back from China, the availability of the humongous, just for want of word, I'm using the word humongous, the appetite for energy, the appetite for food, the appetite for water, the appetite for Chinese also to come out to visit other parts of the world to go back. It's so huge that now DPM and ministers, it now falls on us to create the producers and product and create the environment for us to relate with this high level of relationship we've elevated with China and to benefit from this for our economy. All in all, this was economic focus trip, and in my view, we've secured what we went for. I look forward to maturity of the outcomes, especially us attracting the downstream processing focus. And I did make mention as they come in, they must partner PNG investors who are here to complement in the downstream processing sector, whether landowner investors in the area of investments or provincial governments or existing companies like Paradise Food and others who are already in the business of processing in our country. So good trip all in all, DPM. I want to report to you as acting PM Walter Ford that your brother didn't waste time. As most of you know, I don't go out partying, I don't drink wine or alcohol, I don't do gamblings. I'm on business for work, and some do complain why taking leaders. I took other leaders with me because these engagements, you don't one day arrive in these sort of meetings. You have to be trained, you have to be taught, you have to know. And when Prime Minister takes few other leaders with me, it's so that the story on how we relate to other nations is also a rub on to other leaders as well. when they become prime ministers, when they become ministers down the line, they know exactly what to do for the country. I had the privilege of being around for some time, so it was easy for me. When I go into meetings, I have the comfort to engage. I have to take other leaders with me, so when they are placed in the situation into the future, they know exactly how to carry themselves for our country in engagements and conversations. So I just want to appeal to our citizens. Don't question leadership who are on the work for your country. When I'm out there, the country remains functional. And the acting Prime Minister is in office. The ministers who are here are working. The Chief Secretary to look after public service is in office. We spend the sleepless nights running around to secure markets for our produce. If someone wants to ask me in one line, what do you really do? We run around to ensure that we relate to our nations. And in the end of this, our free flow of trade, commerce, and engagements with nations can carry on. Whether we like it or not, PNG is in the heart of the Asia-Pacific region. We relate to Pacific nations, we relate to Asian nations, and we relate to the world. And when nations who share bilateral with us invite our country's leadership to attend, you don't become unpolite and undiplomatic and refuse such meetings, because you relate to them, they buy your produce, we coexist, we exist together going forward. So China's visit was nice. We secured our own relations with China. We gave respect to them where it was due, and they gave respect to us where it was due. At leader to leader, it was equal. I just thought President Xi Jinping, like for him to meet me again after my equivalent Prime Minister had met me already. He met me the next day, was kind of him, and he just affirmed the relationship we wanted, especially in the trade, commerce, and economy sector.